Hello and welcome back. Placing my hands in my pockets for mosquitoes and crickets. Welcome back to another episode of the Telling.l.L. podcast. And we're here to bring the passion. Because that's today's lesson. Passion with a purpose. Passion is one of the many spices of life. It's one of those things that you don't think about until you don't have it. It's one of those things you don't think about having until you see someone out in the world that really brings it, that really has it. And passion is something that people can have about all types of different things. Passion. Say it 7 times fast. Is something that I thoroughly enjoy discovering in other people. Because what really sparks that passion is something that is always a surprise. It's always delightful. You might have someone who's passionate about their hobbies, for example, the things they do to live, not what they do to survive and earn bread. And if you're really lucky, your passion and your occupation can often overlap. But for the purposes of this lesson, that I learned, passion is that thing that when you ask somebody about, they go real wide-eyed. They get really lit up. It's something that they're just so excited to talk about, they get animated. So yeah, you might talk to someone, oh, what do you do for work? Oh, I advocate, I do this. Oh, I work on cars, I love cars. And that's a perfect segue or a stepping point or an entry into what really lights them up. So in the example of cars, it's like, yeah, I work at a insert name brand here, dealership, and I do it all day. But their passion project is restoring that old Mustang, is restoring that old Porsche. It's something they do outside of the 9 to 5. And passion is something that, much like gratitude, everyone has access to. Everyone has it somewhere in them, and it's just eager, dying, willing to come forth should you speak to it. The beauty of that passion is that it can turn the mundane into the extraordinary. And in turning the mundane into something extraordinary, it invites an opportunity to really tap into a myriad of emotion. When you think about something that you're passionate about, whether that be music, the arts, people, food, you might find yourself feeling the whole range of emotion, from the excitement at trying that new recipe or trying that new soldering iron to the disappointment when you first failed. But much like everything else, failure is an opportunity to learn, to grow. So me personally, I know when I was learning how to solder my old Game Boy games, my old Pokemon games, for example, and that first solder was upside down. So I go to start it up and it's like, what did I do wrong? And then you realize, oh, the contacts are flipped. And that could have easily been discouraging, but you get the solder iron out, you plunge up that old solder and you start again, and then boom, you log 40 hours into Crystal when you were struggling to take an hour for yourself before. And passion is often what leads you to fulfillment. It leads to so many new things. And when life is devoid of passion, I find, it's devoid of purpose. It's just devoid of meaning. When you're not actively pursuing something that really lights you up, that really gets you going, you're robbing yourself. The same way you rob yourself if you don't give yourself the time to learn and to fail, if you don't give yourself permission to be grateful for the things that distract from that passion, to distract from purpose. So being devoid of that passion is nothing I would wish on anyone. And now that I waffled on for a little bit, I wonder, what are you passionate about? For me, it's expression. It's looking like I'm about to hop on a cruise to who knows where. For all of you, it's stepping boldly into the unknown with maybe a plan, definitely an intention, but often just getting lost in the sauce, something I really excel at. It's getting lost in that sauce and just being present in the moment. And these passions look like all types of things. It can be philosophy, it can be hobbies, it can be really connecting with people on a deep and vulnerable level. And these passions can lead you to places you never thought possible. They can lead you to lifelong friendships. They can lead you to rivals. In the interest of Pokemon, for example, they can lead you to new levels of growth. They can lead you to your life's calling. So for me, a passion is all in a particular type of art. And that's speech, it's poetry, it's music. It's in all things vocal and expressive. And that passion comes alive anytime I see someone light up. So when I ask, what do you do for fun? What I'm really saying is, what gets you into your body? What gets you present? What gets you jazzed up and into the moment? For me, I'm what you might call a serial hobbyist. In the last year or so, I've learned how to solder. I've learned how to write iambic pentameter all over again. I've learned how to edit in ways that I hadn't before. I've learned how to do small engine repair, which may or may not be the most exciting thing in the world, but it definitely helps me with my mower. In the past year or so, I've learned how to sharpen a blade, whether that be mower blades, saw blades, or just throwing knives, which I've had for a couple years now, thanks to that old Amazon wish list. In the past year, I've jumped from hobby to hobby, and what I've learned is buy the lowest end and go up from there. So the last time I got burned was model kits. I tried the regular old handy dandy nipper and file and things of that nature. Then I got my hands on a really good one, and I saw just how dangerous that could be, because all of a sudden I'm cutting through the plastic of the hobby kits like butter. I'm getting them together, and the temptation to go even bigger. You know, I got the Godhead nippers, the really expensive ones, but my goodness, were they worth it? But then thinking, well, I can get one of those sanding cues, and I can get this, and they can set. It's like, nope, put a pause. Finish the kits you have, and go on from there. And spoiler, I've done 3 out of the 5 that I have, and that's intentional. But really, the hobby of gunpla or model kits for me unites a few different passions. It unites anime, art, music, all these things attached to the art form, and it attaches that to the passion of like Lego and building things from that childhood place, and it marries them together in a way that you have measurable progress for how you're doing each session. And maybe it's a leg, maybe it's a head, maybe you spent way too long filing that one piece and getting it perfectly smooth. But there's purpose there, and there's passion, and it's on display by the time you're done. And the other passion that I discovered was fixing things, and I learned that as a boy. Taking things apart and putting them back together. And yes, I may have messed up a cassette player or two in the process, but Mom, forgive me. It's one of those things where you learn what really gets you alive, and for me, it's learning, it's trying new things. And at the end of that, Pokemon Crystal, for example, putting 40 hours into it to show that not only did I take the time to learn the skill, I also took the time to enjoy that little slice of heaven from the past. And that memory is connected to being in the 6th, 7th grade and waiting birthday to birthday to birthday and finally getting your hands on crystal. I think the way it went was for Christmas, I got silver. And then for my birthday, 6 months later, I got gold. And I got one of those little worm lights and a link cable. And then when crystal came out, I got that and I beat it in a weekend with my cousin. And that was awesome because seeing those sprites come alive for the first time, when I say you had to be there, that is a moment in time. That is a moment in time that is imprinted on my very being. Seeing the Elite Four credits in color and the sprites animated, tasting the brownies my mother made, all of those emotions are tied into Pokemon Crystal, of all things. And taking the time to learn, to pursue the knowledge of how to fix that old cartridge. Taking the time to get the fan blowing because goodness, those fumes were strong and my room was not ventilated. Lesson learned. Helped me tap into that passion from the past. And it evoked something in me that I want everyone to have. So the passion I'm focusing on for this episode is the pursuit of passion. Getting that $20 soldering iron, getting that $15 pack of multiple batteries, taking the time to learn how to use that iron, fuck it up royally, and then start again, begin again. And then carving out an hour here, 20 minutes there, putting together the dream team, and getting to the Elite Four, and then getting there again, doing Mount Silver, fighting Red, getting my ass handed to me, grinding just a little bit, and then handing that Pikachu its ass, like, excuse me, is this yours? And I wouldn't have unlocked that passion if I hadn't unpacked that box when setting up my studio again, if I hadn't gone through and tried it out. And that passion that unites people, if I hadn't gotten that Game Boy Advance SP from my friend Hunter and taken the time to learn how to refurbish it, even though he kept it in splendid condition, but hadn't taken the time to learn how to swap out the batteries or the battery and learn how to take out the screen of my old Game Boy Advance because, hey, I'm gonna want to trade, right? And learn all these little skills that took me to this point where I have this much time clocked on it. And yeah, I haven't picked it up in 6 months. I still remember that fondly and I can still tap into that passion. And in explaining it all to you, I'm left with this feeling of wholeness, like everything's come full circle. So, what does passion mean to you? What's something you're passionate about? And what's stopping you from enjoying it right now? Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying with me. And please, let me know your passion and the purpose behind it. And I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye. And if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, do the things. Or don't. Hi and welcome back. Hi and welcome blah. Hi and welcome blah blah. Hi and welcome back. Hi, how are ya? Welcome.